So a very big thank you to those from PRiME and Nepal Leprosy Trust for sharing with us this evening. We're going to start the evening hearing from Claire, who is from PRiME. So thank you so much again for joining us, Claire, and being able to share with us today. So Claire and her husband Ian spent some time in Nepal the end of last year. Oh, Ian is on. Sorry, see you further down, Ian. Sorry. Thank you both so much for joining us. I'm very, very grateful. But we're just going to hear from both of them about their time that they spent working with churches in Nepal the end of last year and the ways that they've been supporting mental health in Nepal as well. So thank you, both of you. Over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much for asking us. We're always delighted to come and talk about Nepal, and just Grev sharing that brings back memories of our recent visit. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Just see if I can actually share the screen. Bear with me. I think we're there. So I'm going to talk a bit about mental health teaching in churches in Nepal. And Ian's also on the call, but we're a bigger team than that, as you can see. So we've got, I'm just going to move this round a little bit. That's better. So you can see Ian and myself. This is Jenny Bryden and David Sims, who are both psychiatrists. We're both GPs. And there's Dr. Andrew Wilson, who's also a GP, and Sarju, our wonderful facilitator. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our visit September to November last year, when we actually saw and met Grev for the first time as well. So we had a busy time. Ian and I were out for 6 weeks, and Doctors Andrew, Jenny, and David were able to come for just 2 weeks. So we did a lot of other things apart from the MMN supported work, but I'm going to concentrate on that today because we don't have that much time. So we taught 7 2-day courses, and 5 of those were supported by MMN financially. And we taught 3 1-day courses and visited and supported many other related projects. So I guess you'll get the report that I've written, Hannah. That gets sent to everyone, so you can read about that more fully when Hannah sends that round. But I'm really going to talk mostly about the 2-day course teaching today. It involved a lot of travelling. So we travelled Kathmandu to Pokhara, to Lamjung to Pokhara, to Kathmandu, to Tansen, to Pokhara, and then back to Kathmandu. We saw a lot of roads. This is one of the largest landslides I've ever seen. Travel in Nepal is challenging, particularly during the monsoon, but even when we were travelling in October and November. Last time we came to Nepal, we actually sat in a tea shop, probably about here, which has long since disappeared down into the river. This produces an awful lot of challenges for travel for everybody. They're trying to rebuild they are rebuilding the Kathmandu to Pokhara road. That's 200 kilometers, but now takes about between 8 and 10 hours because it's rather like driving through a building site. At the moment, they're trying to repair all the road all at once. So it does make travel very slow, but it has great rewards. This was traveling back from Tansen, and we had to stop to go over the bridge. It's very beautiful. So we're going to talk a little bit about the teaching. Teaching always begins with worship and prayer. Actually, we weren't allowed to start any of our teaching without being prayed for first, which was quite amazing. One of our courses actually ended with teaching, with being prayed for, and all these Nepalis gathered around us, prayed over us, and prayed for the mental health work in Nepal. Why do we teach on mental health? The suicide rate in Nepal is, as in many countries, is spiraling, and it's at least 3 times what it is in the UK, with a different demographic, a different group of people leading that. It's the leading cause of death for women of reproductive age. I can't go into the reasons for that in detail today, but suffice it to say that it's an honour and shame culture. If you feel shame, then you may decide to end your life, particularly if you have no idea how to deal with your mental health. And mental health is a taboo subject in Nepal. It still is, and particularly in the villages. People don't talk about it, and therefore they don't know how to manage it when something goes wrong or they see something going wrong. So this is grassroots teaching on how to manage your mental health. We teach quite a lot on listening skills and on suicide awareness. Our translator is always very important, because it's not just translating the words, it's communicating the concept. And it's great when you find translators like this lovely girl who's so enthusiastic about what you're teaching. She communicates that to everybody else as well. It's not just teaching from the front. We get them to do a lot of group work as well as practicing the listening skills in pairs. So that's quite different kind of teaching for Nepal as well. A lot of teaching is just listening to somebody at the front all the time, and a lot of rote learning. So this is different. They love getting involved and talking to people, being in groups, rather than just listening all the time. It's a 2-day course, so we have to feed people, and often they've travelled a long way. Now, some people travelled between 3 and 5 days to get to our courses this time. And so the church generally has a kitchen, and they'll produce a delicious dal bhat, which is rice, vegetable curry, often meat curry, for everybody. And it really is delicious and much appreciated by all the participants. In October and November, the weather is warm and often sunny, so it's great to be able to sit outside and have a break at lunchtime and talk to everybody. This is Tansen, which is, as Grev has already told you, up in the mountains. and a beautiful place to be. This was a special course for us and for the participants. We'd planned to actually do this course in Butwal, which is much lower on the flat plain which borders northern India. Unfortunately, there's been quite a lot of persecution of churches because of Hindu fundamentalists who are actually coming across the border. Stones have been thrown at the churches, and people walking to church daubed with soot, and protests about them going to church. So we were wisely advised not to go there. So we had a group of pastors from Butwal who really wanted to be taught. And thanks to some MMN funding, as well as a supplement from a PRiME donor, we were able to use a hotel in Tansen to have a 2-day course. And because everybody was in the same place, it provided a really special environment for pastors who were actually feeling quite isolated, to be able to talk to each other, sometimes for the first time, and agree strategies and how they could support each other with their mental health. So it's a very valuable time. And it was great fun. So the 2 ladies we were with, one came from Rookham, and it took her 3 days traveling to get to Tansen, because Rookham is far west. And the other lady came from Butwal. And this is Dr. Andrew and Dr. Ian in traditional dress. And we'd been given welcoming scarves. The team changed a bit as we went to different places, because we recruited a PRiME member from Australia. This is Dr. Bruce Hayes. Sorry, I'll go back again. This is Dr. Bruce Hayes, who's working in Pokhara for INF at the moment, but he was keen to join us and become a PRiME tutor, and added a lot to our 2-day teaching in Pokhara. So that's Sarju, our facilitator, Ian, Bruce, Dr. Andrew, and myself. This is Sarju, our facilitator, without whom this training would not be possible. He organises all the venues we are going to. He knows virtually all the pastors, certainly in Western Nepal and quite a few in Eastern Nepal, and travels and supports them, and has just started his own NGO. So do pray for him. We're really hoping that he might be able to come to the PRiME conference this year in the UK, but that's dependent on a visa, and we're just waiting on that. We have lots of participants, and this amazing man cannot walk except on his knees, and he has an adapted scooter and had travelled from Sianja, which is half a day's travel, to Pokhara for the course. And I'd like you to listen to this if it will play. Just bear with me. Can everyone hear that?
No, not getting any sound
I
at
don't think
all.
the sound's working, sorry there, Claire.
That's the vagaries of. Can you hear that at all?
No, nothing. Still nothing.
Sorry, Claire.
Sometimes
Can you
these things work and sometimes they don't.
could you screen share
had-
with me for a second?
I don't know whether that will work or not. We'll try at the end.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Claire. Technology never
But
works when you need it to. This is the problem.
No, I thought I'd try, but videos are always a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
But we had several people who were willing to just stand up and tell us what the training had meant for them. And it's really good to hear what they have to say. But we'll give you some feedback that you can read. And I love this for several reasons. I'll just let you read this. So it's amazing to be able to give pastors some tools to use to start addressing mental health issues. And yes, they would pray and pray, but now there are other things that they can try, and giving them the confidence to try those things as well, because we rehearse that during the course. It's so important to root our teaching in the Bible. It adds credence to what does have a fantastic biblical basis. God wants us to be healthy physically as well as mentally. And we love teaching from Ephesians 4, particularly during the course, on what that means and how the advice the Bible gives us already about how to look after our own mental health. And it's very precious to hear that we seem to have managed to sit at the level where they can understand what we are saying, rather than coming out with a lot of doctor speak, which they can't relate to as well. And we really hope and pray that we've given them tools to set themselves free and be able to help themselves and pass it on to lots of other people. There were so many people who said, well, I've got quite a few sermons out of this. That's great. But I will go and teach all the people in my church, in my school, in my women's fellowship. And we just pray that that is really happening now. So I've got some items for prayer, but Hannah's probably got these as well. Would you like me to go over them, or are you going to talk people through that, Hannah?
Yeah, I think if you're happy to just chat through them, Claire, quickly, just so people have got an idea of what to be praying for, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Right. So we'd be most grateful if you could pray with us. That the training that we give is taking root in the participants' minds and hearts, and really works as a force for good in their lives, and gives them more confidence and encouragement that they can also teach others and hand this on to other people, and be brave enough to do so, because it's very countercultural to talk about mental health in Nepal. Please pray for protection for our Nepali brothers and sisters in Christ. The churches are seeing more persecution, particularly along the Indian border. And you have to really stand firm against this. They have to stand firm against it and be brave and courageous. And please pray that God would guide us in the planning for our next visit and input. So God willing, we are going back in October and November this year. And we may be travelling far west or indeed east to a place called Dharan and quite near Lalgad. Asal Chimaki is the social enterprise arm of the group of churches in Pokhara, and they asked whether we could get involved in delivering the local mental health strategy that the government had asked them to do because they didn't know where to start. This has been devolved to local government level, so it's a very regional thing, and so we have to think about whether we have an input into that and how that will look. And we will need the help of the churches and their social enterprise arm, which is called Asal Chimaki, which is Good Neighbours. They are currently very involved in giving earthquake relief to the place in Rukam, which is featured on Hannah's first page when we joined, which has had devastating effects in the far west of Nepal, in an area called Rukam and Jajakot. And we'll also be involved in quite a few projects in Kathmandu with different NGOs and possibly do some teaching in schools as well in this next visit. But we'll certainly be continuing our teaching in churches. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you most of all for your prayer. During the whole of that visit, we felt carried in prayer. And your financial gifts through MMN made quite a few of the things that we did easier to do, easier to flex and be more adaptable, and particularly for delivering training in Tansen rather than Butwal. So thank you so much. I'll go back to the prayer points.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Claire.